Hello friends, I Dr. Meenal Hardi from Department of Pharmaceutical Chemistry, PE Societies, Modern College of Pharmacy, Nigadi, Pune. Welcome you all in today's session. Today we are going to see details on topic UV visible spectroscopy. UV visible spectroscopy is also called as electronic spectroscopy, or it is also called as molecular absorption spectroscopy. Before that, we will see the contents of presentation. In that, today we are going to cover part 1. In this, we will include introduction to UV visible spectroscopy, principle and instrumentation. In the part 2, we are going to cover Beer-Lambert's law, types of transition and application. So before starting, we will come to know what is spectroscopy. Spectroscopy is a branch of science deals with interaction of radiation with matter, or spectroscopy is a measurement and interpretation of electromagnetic radiation absorbed or emitted when the molecule or atoms or ions of same sample move from one energy state to another state. Then we will see what is electromagnetic spectrum. Electromagnetic spectrum is a bunch of radiation which contain numbers of electromagnetic radiation such as gamma radiation, X-rays, UV rays, visible rays, IR radiation, microwave and radio waves. Today we are going to see particularly UV visible spectroscopy. So here UV visible electromagnetic radiation, in this they are ranging from 200 to 400 nanometer UV visible radiation. It is divided into two parts, near UV region and vacuum UV region. It is also called as far UV region. So vacuum UV region or far UV region, it has the wavelength 100 to 200 nanometer. Near UV region is ranging from 200 to 400 nanometer. Visible region is ranging from 400 to 800 nanometer. Then what is the principle of UV visible spectroscopy? So whenever we are bombarding any electromagnetic radiation or ultraviolet radiation on any molecule, so molecule which is present in ground state absorb the UV radiation and goes to excited state. So this is called as electronically excited state of a molecule. Molecule remain in the excited state between 10 raised to power minus 8 to 10 raised to power minus 9 seconds. Then it comes to ground state. As excited state is not very stable, it comes to ground state by emitting the heat or thermal energy. So this is the principle behind the UV visible spectroscopy. Then we are moving towards the instrumentation. This is the block diagram of instrumentation. In this, radiant source are present in the instrument of UV. Radiant source are present. Then wavelength selector, sample, transducer, signal processor and readout device. So what is the source of radiant energy? It can be deuterium lamp, tungsten lamp, xenon arc lamp or LEDs. Wavelength selector, it passes only the monochromatic radiations. So filters on monochromators. Then sample containers and detectors. Various types of detectors we are using such as phototubes, photomultiplier tube, photodiode array, CCD, etc. So starting with the source of UV visible radiation, we can see the deuterium or hydrogen lamp, tungsten filament lamp, light emitting diode or xenon arc lamp. So all these sources of UV visible radiation is giving the radiation up to the certain wavelength. So starting with the hydrogen and deuterium lamp, whenever we are providing electrical energy to any deuterium moiety or deuterium molecule goes to excited state by getting the electrical energy, and when it is in excited state, it comes to ground state by emitting the UV radiation. Like this, we are getting the UV radiation from hydrogen or deuterium lamp. It is giving continuous emission of radiation, UV radiation from 160 to 400 nanometer. Then next is tungsten halogen lamp. Tungsten halogen lamp contain small amount of iodine in a quartz envelope, which also contain tungsten filament. The iodine react with gaseous tungsten formed by sublimation, producing the volatile compound that is tungsten iodine complex. When molecule of tungsten iodine hit the filament, they redecomposing on tungsten back to the filament. That's why the lifetime of tungsten lamp is double than the ordinary lamp. Next is xenon arc lamp. Xenon arc lamp, this hollow tube is filled with xenon or sometimes a mixture of mercury and xenon. It is invented in 1940 and commercialized in 1961 by the Osram. It gives the intense source of radiation. It is giving the continuous spectrum between 200 to 1000 nanometer. Then light emitting diodes. Light emitting diode is also the source of UV visible radiation. So here this is the light emitting diode is the PN junction device produce the UV radiation. It is made up of various diode materials such as gallium arsenic, aluminum arsenide, gallium arsenic phosphide, gallium phosphide, gallium nitride, gallium indium nitride. And LEDs produce continuous spectrum over a narrow wavelength range. Next is the wavelength selector. So all monochromatometer contain the following components. First is the entrance slit, then collimating lenses or mirror, dispersing device. It includes this prism and grating, focusing lenses and exit slit. This is the diagram of Zerny-Turner grating monochromator and Bunsen prism monochromator. So A is indicated as Zerny-Turner grating monochromator. Here grating is used as a dispersion device, and the second B diagram, prism is used as a dispersing device. What are the advantages of grating over prism? It is cheaper to fabricate. It produces better wavelength separation for same size dispersing element, and grating is dispersing radiation linearly along the focal plane. Then prism monochromator. Prism, it is used to disperse UV or visible radiation as well as IR radiation. Prism is composed of construction material is fluoride prism. It is made up of fluoride or silica or quartz, glass, NaCl or KBr. Now prism are of two types. 30-degree prism, it is called as the Littrow prism. 60-degree prism, it is called as the Cornu prism. Next is grating. Grating is the dispersion device. Two types of gratings are present, transmission grating and reflection grating. Reflection grating is more common type. Reflection gratings are produced from master grating. Master grating consists of hard optically flat polished surface that has large number of parallel and closed space grooves made with the diamond tool. Grating for UV visible region has 300 to 2000 grooves per mm. For IR grating require 10 to 200 grooves per mm. How we can prepare the master grating? The master grating preparation is a very tedious process, time consuming process, as well as it is expensive, because the grooves must be identical size, exactly parallel and equally spaced over the length of grating. So that's why replica grating is more preferred, which is prepared from the master grating. Replica grating are formed from master grating by liquid resin casting process that preserves virtually perfectly the optical accuracy of original master grating on a clear resin surface. These surfaces are usually made reflective by a coating of aluminum or sometimes gold or platinum. This is the diagram of grating. Here we can see incident beam of radiation and diffracted beam of radiation. So how incidence of light happen and how diffraction happen on grating, this is clearly indicated here. Now this is the diagram where we can see dispersion of the radiation. Here quartz and glass prism is shown on the scale, and grating dispersion is shown. So here we can see prism is unable to produce the separate wavelength of equal distance, while grating is separating all radiation very properly. So that's why grating is better separating component which is able to separate all radiation very properly. That's why grating is more preferred over the prism. Then various types of gratings are there, such as holographic grating, Elachit grating, Elachi grating, and concave grating. Next is sample container. Sample container is mostly made up of for UV. It is made up of optical glass. It can be of quartz. It can be for the far UV region, IR region, such as transparency for the radiation is different in the sample container. So whenever we are handling the cuvette or sample container, so some things we have to keep in mind, such as we have to keep the cuvette clean, then we have to use optical paper to clean the cuvette, then we have to keep or store it dry, because due to moisture contamination, microbial contamination can happen in the container. That's why we have to keep it dry. Then don't get fingerprints on the smooth surface. Wherever the transparent side is there, so we don't require any fingerprint. Then we have to keep or store carefully and gently the sample container. The next is detector. So what is the function of detector or radiation transducer? Transducer converts radiant energy into the electrical energy. Two types of transducers are there, photoelectric transducer and next is the thermal transducer. So what can be the ideal properties of transducer? It should be highly sensitive, it require high signal to noise ratio, it gives constant response over the longer wavelength, and it should give faster response. Then various types of detectors are there. First is the photomultiplier tube. In this, cathode is there as well as anode is there, and number of diodes are present. Each diode is having 90 voltage more positive than the previous diode. Photomultiplier tube is commonly used detector, consists of photoemissive cathode and anode. A photon of radiation when striking the cathode causing emission of several electrons. These electrons are accelerated towards the first diode. The electrons strike the first diode cause emission of several electrons for each incident radiation. These electrons are accelerated towards the second diodes and so on. Eventually the electrons are collected at the anode. By this time each original photon has produced 10 raised to power minus 6 to 10 raised to power minus 7 electrons. The resulting current is amplified and measured. Next is the photo tube. This is also the detector. Here the diagram represents the phototube where the cathode and anode is present. Then the basic phototube is packed in vacuum, presents a photocathode covered with a particular photoemissive material. These electrons are accelerated by voltage of 90 volt towards an anode, which collect ejected electron, and external matter measures the current that flows. Next is the photodiode, then diode array spectrophotometer. So two types of UV spectrophotometers are there, single beam and double beam. In the single beam, single cuvette is used, and in the double beam instrument, one is the reference cells we can use, another is the sample cell we can use. So radiation is passing from sample source as well as reference, and whatever the error is there, it is get nullified and we are getting the proper result. So hence double beam is more preferred over the single beam UV. Thank you. Second part we will continue.